Hello and welcome to Books Without Barcodes, where I review books published before 1978, which is when UPC barcodes were mandated on all works made for sale to the general public. In this video, we will be reviewing Robert Silverberg's The Book of Skulls, and I will say out of all of the editions, this is probably the most chase cover. All the rest of them have really cool skulls on it. But this gives a better indication as to what the book is actually about. The Book of Skulls was published as a science fiction novel, and in fact, Robert Silverberg has an introduction in this particular edition justifying the fact that this was published as a science fiction novel by the fact that it was nominated for a Nebula Award in 1972, which is when it was originally published, as well as the following year being nominated for the Hugo Award and another award as well. So his justification for it being published as a science fiction novel as well, it was accepted as a science fiction novel, it was nominated for awards as a science fiction novel, and thus it is a science fiction novel, and I would wholeheartedly disagree with that sentiment. It, to me, is as much a science fiction novel as Dan Brown's Angel and Demons is a science fiction novel. It is not a science fiction novel. It is a very good novel, but there are no elements of what I would consider science fiction in the book. If I were hard-pressed to put it into a genre, it would be a fantasy novel more than a science fiction novel. I know it deals with the concept of immortality as well as briefly mentions the city of Atlantis a couple of times, but other than that, most of it feels like a fantasy novel. So the premise of this book is that there are four main characters. They're all college students. You have Ned, who is gay, and a former Catholic schoolboy. You have Oliver, the farm lad, who is pre-med and is considered like the epitome of conventional attractiveness. Strong, muscular, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Got everything going for him. Very scholastic, very ambitious, very driven. You have the wealthy pretty boy with Timothy, who has been given life on a silver platter, whose only reason for going to college is because his dad went to college, and because his dad went to college, and for experience. He's at the point where he has so much money, life is just a collection of experiences to him. And then you have the one that starts the expedition, which is Eli. Eli is a Jewish boy who is studying ancient languages, and in his studies, or trying to find resource materials for his thesis, he comes across this Catalan document called the Book of Skulls, and he translates it, and in the translation discovers there is this monastic group who has discovered life immortal and is promising immortality to this prince. That is what he finds. He basically finds an invitation to join the Book of Skulls, this group, the Book of Skulls, with the promise of everlasting life. And in the invitation, you must have four individuals submit themselves to the Book of Skulls and request to become a receptacle. And there are 18 tenets in this Book of Skulls, and the ninth one is the sticky one. It is the catch, if you will, of this promise of everlasting life, and that four must submit and two must perish, so the other two must live forever. And the way that they've set it up in this ninth tenet is that one will be killed by the others and one will kill themselves so that the others may live. And so Eli convinces his roommates, which is Oliver the farm boy, Timothy the rich boy, and Ned the gay boy, to go on this trip from their New England school across the country, driving to find this group, this fraternity, this Order of Skulls that, according to Eli, lies in Arizona, because coincidentally he found this newspaper clipping talking about this monastery out in Arizona just north of Phoenix that some tourist found while they were out there, and they were talking about, oh, they're so nice, nice fraternity of skulls, they got skulls everywhere, it's crazy, it's such a weird little like travel anecdote. And the two merged together, and so he has figured out that this is the fraternity that the manuscript is talking about, and so he's convinced his three roommates to go off into the desert to try to find the Order of Skulls. And I mention the characters as the gay boy, the Jew boy, the farm boy, and the rich boy, because that is kind of the stereotypes that Silverberg has written into this book. Like that is their personalities. That is kind of like their motivations and their view lens of life, and their little idiosyncrasies and neuroses are very stereotypical in the first third of this book. And he plays it up quite a bit in the first third of the book as they are driving from New England to Arizona. And the book is formatted in a way that each chapter is another character's perspective, which I actually really liked. This is a very character-driven story, even if those characters are very stereotypical in the beginning. And it's not necessarily like it's this character's turn. It doesn't follow a specific formula, like each person takes a turn, which is common when you have a duality told perspective. But because it is 4 characters, they actually just randomly take turns. The story progresses from each of their viewpoints, which, considering there are 4 main characters and they don't follow a set formula, I do find that that's very much a feather in Robert Silverberg's hat to be able to do that, because the story, despite being told from 4 different perspectives, trotted along quite normally. Like, it felt very natural to me as a reader to read it from all these individual perspectives. And I actually really enjoyed that as the characters moved out of their stereotypes and slowly become more 3D and gain a little bit more depth as they continue on this quest. And then once they actually get to the Book of Skulls, or they get to the monastery, I found it very enjoyable. I will also state that this book is very horny. This book starts out horny, as, you know, 4 college dudes in their 20s, in the 70s, and then maintains that level of horniness throughout, even with one of the 4 gentlemen being homosexual. I found that very interesting. However, what I didn't like about the horniness is that I felt that there was a lot of nakedness that isn't necessarily natural, in order to make the fact that one of them is gay more lurid and titillating, I guess. I talked to several individuals. I have a lot of male friends, have other men in my life who are of different ages, who, you know, would have been in their 20s during the 70s. And I asked them, it's like, is it normal? Was it normal in the 70s for 4 dudes to hang out naked in a hotel room together? The answer to that question was resoundingly no. Unless it was like a symptom where they're, you know, unless it was, you know, they're at the gym and they're getting changed, or, you know, everybody's at the beach and they're gonna go skinny dipping. Like, dude bros don't hang out with each other naked normally. Just like having everything all out, helicoptering around, that isn't a normal thing for dudes to do. But it seemed like that was a frequent thing, that everybody was naked whenever they weren't out interacting with other people. The 4 of them were naked, and I feel like it was just kind of a poke at the fact that one of them is gay, and to continually point that out, which felt a little icky at the beginning. I kind of understood it a little bit more as you got further into the story. Also, why there might be other reasons for the nakedness besides that. But in the beginning, that just kind of felt what it was. It was just like, one of them's gay and they're all naked. They're doing it again. It's just wild. As the stereotypes begin to fade, Silverberg seems to ask the readers through the characters' own self-discovery to contemplate their own mortality and what they would do with everlasting life. He also, through the horniness of the book, seems to inquire about the reader's own sexuality, and also the place of history and their own religion in their life, and how that affects their view on life. And while going through the trials, there comes the point of confession that the characters have to go through, and I feel that through that confession process, I was also trying to figure out what I would confess in that moment. Like, what is something that is so life-altering to me, I wouldn't want to share it with another person, and keeping that secret is paramount to keeping my self-identity. And I don't think people really have that level of introspection very often. In modern day society, it's very much a society of the next thing and attention, and the news cycles are 24 hours instead of 24 days now. And I really appreciated that the book made me take a little bit harder of a look at myself, and also made me consider that I probably do need to take things a little bit slower and do spend a little bit more time in self-reflection. And I really appreciate that a book that is technically, that is in my eyes not science fiction, was still able to reach that level of depth, and also is part of the reason why I love reading these more vintage books, because I do feel like they have a perspective from a completely different time period that is still inherently pertinent to modern society, that if we forget those kind of lessons, that the world and your own life would be sadder for having not experienced that or contemplated it. While this book, in my personal opinion, is not science fiction and is more of a fantasy book, I will say it is an exceptionally written book. You know, despite the stereotypical characters in the beginning and the blatant horniness throughout, I will say that it is exceptionally well written. Robert Silverberg is an excellent writer. This book is obviously not meant for someone of my demographic in any way, shape, or form, and yet I was compelled to read the entire thing. I found myself becoming attached to the characters. Again, it is a character-driven story. I did want to find out how the story was going to go. About 40 pages in, I kind of figured out which character was going to be the one that was going to get killed by the others, and which character was going to sacrifice themselves so the other could live. But I did note that Robert Silverberg tried multiple times within the story in order to misdirect a reader to where they wouldn't draw the same conclusions that I did. And if you're not someone who had a traumatic upbringing, that pattern recognition was a survival tactic, and you can enjoy mystery and thriller novels, this one might surprise you. This book might absolutely surprise you how it turns out in the end. While I figured out who the two were, I was interested to figure out the why. I kind of understood what the why was for one of them right away, but for the other one, not so much. Like, I wanted to see where that was going to go. It did kind of develop the way I thought it was going to, but it happened in an unexpected way, which I very much appreciated. So I will give Robert Silverberg a lot of credit in that his writing is very interesting, it's very compelling, it's very good. And this is my second Silverberg, and both books have left me with a feeling that he is just a good writer. And no matter how he decides to format his novels or stereotypes his characters, chances are if you pick up a book by Silverberg, you are probably going to enjoy the reading experience just like I did. So I do highly recommend this book. I gave it like a 4 out of 5 on my little Bookly app. It's very good. I will probably continue to think about this book for at least a couple weeks after. Normally when I give these reviews, it's not an immediate, like, I just finished this book. I literally just finished this book. Normally I, think about it for a while before I talk about it. Sometimes I overthink it, but overall, it's a good book. I do recommend you maybe picking it up with one of the cooler skull covers, but this is a better indication as to what's going on. So, but thank you so much for watching. Happy reading to you all, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye!